Hello and welcome to the TNC podcast, and it's live. Welcome back, everyone. I hope everybody is well. Welcome everybody to the stream. We'll be talking about Norwich City 2, Preston North End 2. Of course, we've all seen it this afternoon. Some of you may have been lucky enough to have been inside of Carrow Road. There are 1,000 fans there today. Joined alongside me tonight to dissect the game, and I'm sure sink a few beers along the way, is my good friend Chris Reeve. Chris, how are you, mate?
Very good, thank you, Jack. I've had time to absorb that result, and I'm feeling okay about it now. I've got some fish and chips down me, and I've tried to think about the positives, which are that we are still unbeaten in the league. I know we're only 2 in. Of course, Pukki and Pepe getting off the mark today, which was superb. And still another, despite, of course, the penalty, I thought an excellent performance from Mr. Skip in the middle of the park. I just think it's also positive that we managed to get something out of the game today, considering how poor we were. I'm not going to skate around that. I did think collectively as a unit, we probably had a 5, maybe 6 out of 10 performance today. So I'm just so relieved that we actually managed to get something out of the game. And if I was a Preston fan, I would be absolutely seething.
Yeah, no, it'll be really interesting tonight because usually we have sort of a 10-15 minute chat before we go live, but the fish and chips held you up this evening, and rightly so. I think that's far better than chatting with me. Welcome along to everyone. Please do get involved in the chat. Bruce Hardy says, evening chaps, evening everyone. Good evening, Bruce. I hope you're well, my friend. Let's have a look what else we've got. Sam, very unhappy. Absolutely awful result, he says. And Sam, another Sam, says Javi was one of the best players out on the pitch today. Let's start from the start then with the team news. It was unchanged. Buendia apparently, and I'm saying apparently because we all know how football works, picked up a knock in training. It's set for Emi. Chris, were you happy with the unchanged side?
Yeah, I think so, Jack. I think that it's very, very. It would be very, very unlike Daniel Farke to change a winning side. Very unlikely. I don't think it needed too much difference, to be honest with you. I think that the way that we approached the game was probably correct. However, as I'll go on to explain in a minute, I actually thought that Alex Neil's game plan was far better than Daniel Farke's. The way he set out his side. They all won their individual battles for the majority of the game today. So although we started with the right team, I felt that we needed to adapt it very quickly, and we were probably too slow to do so. Of course, very unlucky with Mr. Dowell going off injured. I hope that he's all okay. I haven't actually had time to see whether that was just a precautionary knock. But yeah, very, very sad to see him go off today because I think he's been excellent for us in the few minutes that we've seen of him so far. Look, I'll be honest with you today, Jack. I actually think the midfield was suspect, and actually, in my pre-match opposition preview with Ben, which was really enjoyable, he said this game will be won and lost in midfield. And I know that's cliche, but he was bang on the money. It really was. I thought McLean today was poor. I thought Todd Cantwell went missing, and everyone knows how much of a fan I am of Todd. But I think today he'll know it wasn't good enough from him today. And I felt that they just completely bossed us in midfield and really asserted themselves well. And fair, fair play to Alex Neil. We knew he'd be up for this game. I thought, and a great save from, of course, Deck, who's been on the podcast. Great save from Declan Rudd to stop them losing at the death, which would have just been absolutely epic. So yeah, I thought that we didn't play well today in spells at all, really. I felt that, we got lucky. Obviously, we got lucky by the first goal, although Deck had a worldie of a save at the end. It was a shocking save to concede that early on. But great take from Pepe for the equaliser. Brilliant. And I'm so chuffed for him because although I'm criticising the midfield today and he did miss a howler, like proper Johnny Wilkinson, right over the bar, I'm just chuffed for him that he managed to get himself into this mentality of actually stepping up and taking that how he did. I was very, very impressed with him today.
Yeah, definitely. I think there'll be a lot of learnings from today. I think a lot of people chuffed with Javi Quintilla. I think he was excellent going forwards. The amount of crosses he threw into the box, I think some of his defending was suspect. What were you going to say, mate?
I was just going to say on Xavi again, like massive fan of Xavi. I ranted and raved about the Norfolk Roberto Carlos in the last game, and again, I think in the second half we saw the Norfolk Roberto Carlos step up and do what he does. But I am going to say in the first half, a lot of misplaced crosses, a lot of misplaced passes, and yes, you are right to praise him, Jack. Another okay, an okay display despite an overall poor performance. But yeah, I think we only really saw Xavi really step up in the second half today.
Yeah, definitely. Christopher Hooper on YouTube. Hello, Christopher. Hope you're well, mate. He says, can we train monkeys to be referees? Well, another fairly suspect refereeing decision. It was Oliver Skipp giving away the penalty, which led to Scott Sinclair's penalty being scored for Preston to put them ahead. I must admit, when I saw it, it did look like a penalty. I think the replay made it look slightly soft, but I can see why it was given. I thought it was silly from Oliver Skipp. I know Chris mentioned there about the midfield maybe not working hard. I think on the whole, I thought Oliver Skipp had a really good performance, but I think he'll look back at that and be really disappointed he even challenged for it, because the ball was going 6-10 foot over the attacking player's head, and there's a little nudge in the back, and the Preston attacker has made the most of it. But and a lot of people saying, oh, if we had VAR, it would have been overruled. I don't think it would have been. So
no, it wouldn't have been. But Jack, for me, what's more frustrating, and this is going to sound a bit spooky, but I'm okay with saying it, it's actually not the penalty that I was frustrated at. It was the fact that we gave away a needless corner, complete lack of communication. Ben Godfrey not listening to Tim Krul's call, suspect as hell. And afterwards you saw them, Christoph Zimmermann had to pull Ben aside because, his temperament got the best of him. But just silly, needless, and very, very basic, Jack. Listen to your goalkeeper. Do the simple stuff. Yes, we gave away the penalty. Yes, Oliver Skipp shouldn't have done that. But you know what? I don't think Skipp deserves criticism today. Like I really don't. I think that would be really harsh on him, because the way that, what I love about Oliver Skipp, actually, which I didn't expect to love, is not his tackling ability, but the way he picks up the ball and he drives it forwards in midfield. We don't get that in Alex Tete. We didn't get that in Tom Tribal. We don't get that in, I think we've had it in Kenny occasionally. So I was really, really happy with Oliver Skipp today.
Yeah, definitely. Bruce Hardy says Sorensen and Skipp would be a strong defensive midfield. Yeah, I think we're all probably in agreement in terms of Oliver Skipp makes that lineup. I think in the past that the criticism of Kenny McLean has been unjustified. I think on the whole he's a very well-rounded midfielder, but I agree. I don't think he was at his best today. I can't see Farke dropping McLean for our next game against Bournemouth, but who knows?
Why?
I just think he likes McLean, and I think on his day McLean does add a lot to the team.
Mate, I think a performance like that today means he's absolutely out. He's putting himself in the room to be dropped 100%. And I know I went on Twitter after the game, and I went against you on the old Christopherson and Ben Godfrey debate. But I think both of those guys are could be dropped, and I think it's the same for Kenny. Kenny has put himself in a position today to be dropped for the next game, and I don't want to sound harsh, but these are the games that we should be winning. Like, I know it's early days, but we're at home, and but this is it, right? This just shows how important it is to work as a team. Look at the way Preston worked in that first half. I was really impressed with them. They fought tooth and nail. They dived, they fell over, they did the nasty stuff, they wasted time. But we've spoken about this time after time, and I think this is our first taste of what the Championship is really going to be like for Norwich this season. Huddersfield were poor, let's face it, and we did well to get a result there, because we weren't at the races there, by the way. And again, today we weren't at the races, and we really do need to be better. And Jack, one man that I was actually disappointed with today, which I would barely ever say, is Anel. Really disappointed with him today. Apart from that haircut, wow, that is.
Is it orange? Is it ginger? What is it? Blonde?
I think it's orange, actually, and I like his style, because what he's trying to do is he's trying to put off the opposition quite clearly. So I understand the logic behind it, but I think he might have to get it dyed back to normal after the performance today. I felt that he didn't do the simple stuff enough today. I think Preston were very good, actually. It was the same with Pochettino. Pochettino ended up getting a bit more
bit more space later on in the game, but I think they were very good at closing down areas. Hernandez didn't get any room to run into, neither did Boheta. This is a comment in which I wholeheartedly agree with, and I'm very much on board. Chris, I think you've been saying this for a few weeks. James Dunthorpe says Adam Idah should be starting. He brought massive amounts of energy and attacking threat when he came on, but who would you drop? A really interesting one. I wouldn't be dropping Pukki. I thought we had a really good game today. So chuffed he got that goal. His first goal in 8 months. I know we've had a prolonged break in that spell, but massive for him to get that goal. Got the assist last week. He's looking really good. And as Chris mentioned earlier, it was only a fantastic save from Declan Rudd late on to deny him the winner. The big moment for me was that Idah cutting in from the right, shoots with his left across the goal. Declan Rudd, fairly routine saves, falls to the feet of Boheta from 4 yards out. And as Chris said, Johnny Wilkinsoned it over the bar. I think that one's still flying, probably going to land in Munsley in the late hours of this evening. But it was good that Boheta ended up going on to get that. I think Idah is now really knocking on Daniel Farke's door of possibly starting. Got the winning goal last week. Influential today. Quick, powerful. Yeah. The player I thought Carlton Morris was going to be for Norwich City, Adam Idah, is very much filling them boots. So impressive from him. Who would I drop? I don't know. Maybe it takes a system change to fit him in there. I'm not so sure.
I think you're right. I think you are, and I think it's very. I think actually, although we're quite frustrated today, I think we've got a great problem up top. A great problem to have. You know, we saw a taste of almost like the old Timu, the Championship Timu Pukki. You know, and arguably the purple patch Timu Pukki that we saw in the Premier League. I thought his exchanges today with the midfield, when he had them, were very decent. A couple of really good passes to Todd, which Todd didn't do anything with, which is why I'm frustrated with him. Look, Adam Idah came on today and again looked very impressive. I love Adam's energy. I love what he brings to the team. I like the fact that he's kind of an unearthed beast. No one really knows what to expect of Adam Idah in terms of the opposition. And I think that's a great thing. I think he comes on as a young gun full of confidence. But Jack, I actually think for me, if I was Jordan Hugill today, I would be fuming, absolutely fuming. And I know that this is a team game, and I know Daniel Farke praised him at Huddersfield, you know, for the way that he was encouraging the lads. But mate, what is Daniel Farke doing? You know, signing a player of that quality and then deciding to throw him on in the 88th minute. I just think it's too late again.
Especially with Hugill, you know, going up against his old side as well.
Yeah, exactly, mate. And he's a physical presence, and I'm not saying that I'm so pleased he brought on Adam Idah, but he had to bring on Jordan soon. He had to. I feel like a broken record, Jack. I'm saying this, you know, over and over again. We do not assert ourselves. You know, the second half is crucial. You know, and Alex Neil, I was applauding Alex Neil for his substitutions today. You know, he brought on those players to try and defend the game, and full of energy. 3 subs, boom. I'm going to try and impact this game as a manager. And again today, we didn't see that. And I think that, but I would say that Daniel Farke's team that he put out and his system that he played was good enough to win the game, and the players completely underperformed for him.
Yeah, no, it's going to be really interesting. Please do get your comments in. We've had a donation on Ko-fi. If you don't know what Ko-fi is, it's a one-off donation service. It's linked in the top line of the description or on the Facebook post, and we'll get the questions read out. Never expected, but always appreciated to see your donations. And it comes in from our good friend Chaz Tats. He's an Australia each, lads. Been looking forward to this all day. Like I said to you on Twitter, Chris, McLean is too slow for us. Godfrey should be in his place with Gibson at centre-back. Skip looks good at driving the ball. Excited for the front four of Boheta, Cantwell, Emmy and Pukki. Well, a lot to dissect there, that's for sure. Me and Chris were having a bit of argy-bargy on Twitter earlier. Chris is a massive fan of Zimmerman. I'm not anti-Zimmerman, but with the quality of Ben Gibson on the bench, having seen Zimmerman's performance today and in parts last week, I would be keen to get Ben Gibson in there. Now, I wouldn't want Godfrey pushed further on. I think you give Sorensen a go in there first before you move Godfrey positionally. But for me, next game, and I don't think it will happen, but I'm going to say it, for me, the centre-back partnership against Bournemouth on Sunday at 4 o'clock is Ben Gibson lining up against Ben Godfrey, the two Bens. Chris, disagree with me.
No, look, I've reflected on our heated exchange on Twitter, and I think, look, I think it's a really healthy debate. I think that Christoph Zimmermann and Ben Godfrey were both poor today. I personally think Christoph Zimmermann brings more to the team in terms of organisation.
He was caught out of position for that second goal. It was his position.
I agree, but I just think his leadership is very evident. I think we lacked that in the Premier League restart. I think this Norwich team need leaders. He is a very obvious leader. He's not standing there flapping his arms about, starting arguments with his goalkeeper. And look, at the end of the day, it's a game of opinions. I do think Christoph Zimmermann had a poor game today. Would I complain if he was dropped next week? No, I wouldn't. But I also think it's, and again, this is just my opinion, and feel free to disagree with me in the live comments. I think it's incredibly trendy at the moment to be, Ben's athletic. Well, hang on a minute. Look at the stats today. And by the way, I've not looked at them. So let's settle it on statistics. Who made more errors and who had the worst statistics today? Because for me, I felt it was fairly even. Yes, I thought Christoph Zimmermann made some howlers, but I also thought Ben wasn't good enough. So yeah, look, I think it's really frustrating. I really do. But I agree with you, Jack. I would not move Ben Godfrey further forwards, because I think it would be an absolute insult to Jacob Sorensen. It would be an insult to Skip. It would be an insult to Tete. So you absolutely cannot move him forwards. But again, just like the forward line, it's a good problem to have, I think, because we have got options in there now. Jack, I still think, right, that this transfer window is not over for Norwich. There is going to be some movement still. There's going to be some last-minute stuff. And I actually still think that Ben could be bought. And therefore, it's not even going to be a problem.
No, interesting. Of course, the man that isn't being talked about at the moment is a soon-to-be returning Grant Hanley. So he then comes into the equation, and then you've got a whole nother debate. So I'm sure this is going to be rumbling on.
And then in which case, Jack, I would say start Grant Hanley over Christoph Zimmermann.
Okay.
Based on what I've said in terms of leadership, in terms of what he brings to the team, and in terms of at the moment, I feel like I could probably trust Grant. I think that Christoph's had a torrid time with injuries. I know Grant has too, but potentially that would be the change that I would consider making. But I think it would be harsh on Christoph. But maybe I'm blinded. Maybe I'm just a big fan of Christoph Zimmermann.
Yeah, I don't think he was appalling today, but it was that second goal for me that I thought, that's sloppy. And of course, it's worth noting we're all bigging up Ben Gibson, but all footballers are better when they're not playing football. And who knows, Ben Gibson, to Daniel Farke's well-trained eye, might not look quite up to the mark at the moment on the training ground. We don't know. Who knows what the starting 11 against Bournemouth will be.
But I think it's really important to recognise that, yes, we're debating Ben and Zim today, but I thought the defence as a whole were poor. As a whole were poor. I mean, I tweeted it. It was like they had half a cup of Horlicks for their second goal. It was atrocious. They were literally asleep. I cannot believe how easy it was for Preston to just play it around us, particularly in the first 25 minutes. We just had none of the ball. Preston were bossing it. It was like we were playing at the deep there. Like I couldn't believe it, considering how the sheer amount of talent we've got, and the fact it was our first home game and the fans were back, and I just couldn't really believe it. So yes, we're debating Christoph Zimmermann and Ben Godfrey, but also I felt that the transfer news had probably got to Max Aarons today. I don't think that was necessarily Max's best game today. Going forwards, actually, strangely, I felt that there was a couple of opportunities for him to pass, and he didn't. Went sideways when we should have kept going forward. So yeah, I think we all need to try and stay a bit level. I think today was a poor team performance, but there wasn't necessarily an individual that I'd pick out and say they were awful. I just felt as a team we were not at the races at all.
Yeah, it was average. We'll get on to the Max Aarons to Barcelona rumours shortly. For me, the defence today, I don't think they were poor. I just think they just looked slightly clumsy. I think Javi Quintilla was confused about his role in that team. I think he was bombing forwards a lot, delivering crosses, but defensively and positionally not quite there. I think him and Poeta, there's work to be done down that left side. Poeta, and it's a big bugbear of mine, when a winger receives the ball with his back to goal, you've got to be facing the opposition goal net. He's got pace to burn, and we did see moments of that, and he got his goal, which was great. So hopefully that can be worked on. I just want to quickly bring up a comment. Oscar says, isn't Norwich Bournemouth Friday night? No, it was originally Friday night, and it has now been moved to the Sunday because Bournemouth have progressed through the Carabao Cup, so they were playing a load of games, so we've changed it. So Oscar, don't go rocking up to Carrow Road or wherever it is, the Vitality, with the hope of seeing some football, because it is on Sunday at 4 p.m. Okay, Sam Sheffield asks, Max to Barca, thoughts? Chris, you probably know more about this one than me. I was sipping on a black filter coffee this morning at Horning when you said, let's talk about Max to Barca. And I thought you were referring to your FIFA career mode. But no, it is actually correct. There has been links with Max Aarons to Barcelona from very reputable sources in David Ornstein of The Athletic and also Michael Bailey. So what's the latest of what you know?
I've got lots of information on this, and there's some stuff that I've been told that I'm not allowed to say. So I hope that people respect that I'm going to say as much as I'm allowed to. But before that, if you don't mind, Jack, I had a really important point just about that game that a lot of people I'm not hearing that they're not talking about it. Right? I've seen literally one or two tweets. The ref today, their goal scorer should have been sent off.
Yeah, in his face.
On a booking. And not only do you square up to the ref's face, and I don't want to sound like a wet lettuce here, but we're meant to be blooming social distancing, yeah? And not only are you not social distancing, you cannot square up to the referee. I thought that Rob Butler and Chris Gorham were bang on Radio Norfolk today. It was dissent 5 years ago, 10 years ago. You cannot square up to a referee. That was a red card, and the referee absolutely bottled it today. I did not want to start, and I don't want to start blaming referees, but I think it's important to actually realise as fans now, yes, we haven't got VAR, but my God, we are going to be in for a ride with these referees this season, because the Championship refereeing standard is absolutely atrocious.
And let's just hope that referee doesn't test positive for the Rona, because he was really, throwing some droplets about in that poor referee's face. And if I was him, that would have been the second booking. I thought it was disgraceful.
Yeah, no, 100%. I cannot believe he got away with it, Jack. I cannot believe it. And I don't know. But anyway, we shouldn't blame referees. As Joe Findlay Barder has said on YouTube, we shouldn't be blaming referees. And I agree. You can't. Norwich weren't good enough today, so we're not going to hide behind a referee. But it's an important point to make that we were unlucky there, I felt. So, Jack, right. So, Max to Barcelona. First of all, wow. Let's just take a minute and sip your beer wherever you're watching this.
Or your water, whatever you're drinking tonight.
I love your health kick, by the way.
Well, I had a couple of beers last night, and And
let's just take a moment to realise a Norwich City football player has just been not only linked, they have had, which we're going to explain, a genuine, serious approach and offer for Max Aarons. Barcelona with Lionel Messi, and you know what?
And Martin Braithwaite.
I tip my hat to Stuart Webber. I tip my hat to Daniel Farke, and the journey that we've been on in the last 2 seasons. I think that's absolutely brilliant. I think to be in this position now where, some of our top young talent is being not only scouted, but, taken very seriously by the best teams in the world is unbelievable. So that's my first point. And I don't think we should be insulted, or I think that we should actually be like, wow, that's a massive, massive deal. But going into it now, so I have a source very close to Max, and there was definitely a bid made to Norwich City from Barcelona. Now, this was indeed only a loan deal, but it was going to cash Norwich out with 20 million. And there was appearance-related add-ons in the mix as well. There were 2 formal approaches so far to Norwich City from Barcelona. One was this week to Max. And this has been going on for 3 months, although the offers have been obviously sooner. There's been a lot of talks about this, and it's been going on for 3 months. It's important to interject at this point. This isn't me. This is my source close to Max. and I've literally scripted this out from our conversation because I really value my relationship, and I really think it's important to tell people as much as I can and be very truthful about the situation and not hyperbole this. Point number 2, Jack, is a lot of people aren't talking about this. There were a number of conversations between the club and Tottenham over the last 2 seasons for Max Aarons. Last year, Tottenham made a bid of 30 million plus for Max. And Daniel Levy is a huge, huge, huge Max Aarons fan. He literally loves him. And it's very interesting because Jose Mourinho, unfortunately, well, I'll say unfortunately for Max potentially, is he likes big defenders. He likes tall defenders. And so that is probably one of the reasons why that deal fell through. But Tottenham definitely made a bid for Max last year, which then didn't happen. Also, in this window, there was a bid made by Wolves to Norwich City for Max in the region of £20 million. Bayern Munich is just paper talk. It's just it's nonsense. It's paper talk. It's not the case. It's not happening. But what I would say, Jack, is my summary of this is I've raised my eyebrows at this because maybe I've misunderstood, but it sounds like we are in a really strong financial position, because to be rejecting a loan deal of £20 million when we've got backup seems to me like Norwich City are, completely financially secure. And, maybe we don't need the money as much as, there's been a lot of talks about it. But what I would say is, it's very clear to me that Stuart Webber is a fantastic custodian of this football club in terms of protecting our best assets and getting the absolute most money. He will get the most money possible. And he's obviously very difficult to negotiate with. But I just wanted to, the first thing I did when I found out about this is I literally grabbed a couple of the tweets and I sent it through to my contact, and I said, look, what is the truth here? And then, this is what I was told. So there has definitely been a loan bid, but I think it's important to realize that there was no obligation to buy. And so I think for Norwich City, if we lose our best assets, then they obviously need to buy them. So I do think that's important to say. So there's a lot of stuff there. But again, I really hope people don't take this the wrong way. I don't just spew transfer rumor nonsense at all. I've gone straight to a very, very close person to Max, and that's what they've told me, and that's all I can say at this time.
Yeah, no, definitely. It seems like there was as you say, Chris, a firm bid from Barcelona, and it's really fascinating to me, and I still can't quite work it out. We've sold Jamal for 15 million. There's interest from arguably the world's biggest club in Barcelona for Max Aarons. You've got Ben Godfrey being touted around for big money, and yet all of these were the defenders that made up a really leaky Premier League defence last season that ended the season with hardly any points. And I know as individuals, these are really talented players, but surely if we've got this abundance of talent, then it comes down to Daniel Farke for not getting the best out of them in a defensive unit. Because I keep thinking, Darren Eadie made the point today. Chris Gorham said, Darren, what do you think about this Barcelona link for Max Aarons? And he was like, I get it. Max is a good player. But I also don't get it because, he's part of a defence that is continually leaking goals, as we saw again today. I don't get it.
I don't agree with Darren's point on that, to be honest with you. I think, yes, all right, you could look at it and say, well, yeah, he was part of a team that got relegated. But the amount of latent potential that Max Aarons has got is phenomenal. And by the way, they all have. I think I forgot the actual statistic, but it was something like 35% of the England under-21 side was Norwich players. I think there might have been 4, including Skip, which is nice, isn't it, that we've got this recognition. And look, at the end of the day, let's take off our fan glasses and our fan opinion. Let's listen to what Daniel Farke said post-match today. What do you think of the links to Barcelona? And Daniel Farke says, I'm not surprised he's been linked to Barcelona. I'm not surprised he's been linked to the top teams in the world, because it's not just about, the fact that you were part of a relegation team. It's, the guy oozes class. It's obvious that he's going to go to the top. It's a matter of time. And you know what, Jack, and I've said this before, and I'll say it again, I'm actually starting to think that there's going to be possibly more outs in January, which will be interesting to see what that does to the balance of this team and what it does to the mentality of this team going into the second half of this season, should the January transfer window start when it should do. So yeah, look, it's really fascinating. But on a whole, like I actually feel a bit sorry for Max. And this is going to sound a bit weird because I love the guy. I think he's a top player and I think he's amazing for Norwich. I really do. But I feel a bit sorry for him because there's been a bid for him to go to Barcelona. In my opinion, £20 million for Norwich City Football Club for a loan that then we get the player back, that then we can sell for even more money once he's been on display at the biggest club in the world. I personally am struggling to see the logic in that, but I don't know all of the complete details. I only know what my sources told me.
Yeah, no, definitely. Let's move on from Max and transfer speculation. Chaz Tats makes a really good point here. A definite positive I took from today was that we didn't try to force playing it out from the back. We recognised when we were in danger and hoofed it away. Well, no, it's a good point, and defensively there's still work to be done. But I agree. I think there were elements of that today. We weren't forcing it. Preston were pressing incredibly high up the pitch. I think we'll see that a lot this season to kind of alleviate that space that we thrive in, and we didn't get much space today. There were moments when we burst forwards, but not as many as we would have liked, and not as many as we got against Huddersfield. Preston's game plan was superb, and I think we dealt with, on the whole, things very well. What did we make of Pochetta's game today, Chris? He obviously got the goal. He got the miss. We spoke about that. He wasn't starting. It was only Kieran Dowell's injury that made him get on the pitch. So is there something to look into there? Because obviously the way that Kieran Dowell plays and the way that Pochetta plays is incredibly different. And we've set the team up in a tactical system to cater for Kieran Dowell. And then Pochetta comes in. I suppose that takes a bit of adjustment as well, doesn't it?
Look, well, what I would say first of all today, on a funny note, is I was watching the game today with at Cheesy Geezer on Twitter. Sells all of the best cheese to the best restaurants in Norfolk, and he's decided to call him Placenta because he just can't pronounce his name. So he's going with Placenta, which I think is an interesting name to say the least. And look, I was so impressed with him today, Jack. Really impressed. And I like the fact that there's this rawness about him. I like the fact that he's undeveloped. I like the fact that no one knows what to expect from him. And, last season, what we said, Jack, a lot is we've got nothing coming off the bench. With Switzerland's best DJ and Andre Failure coming off the bench, which is not going to do anything, right? But this season, to have that player with that particular skill set of just lightning speed will instantly put teams on the back foot. I was very impressed with him today. Apart from his Johnny Wilkinson miss, I was very impressed with him. But what I would say is there's still some development to be done. I think that on the ball, there's some improvements to be made. But I think going forwards, he's very, very impressive. And to be honest with you today, I think he was better than Anel, which I didn't think I would say this season, because I felt that it was going to take him a season to settle in. But look, I think if he plays, it's very obvious from today's performance that he can make the step up. Jack, the way he took that shot, I was so impressed with that. Because from what I saw as I do, like any fan, I go on YouTube and I look at the players that we're potentially bringing in and let's see their highlights. I looked at his highlights and I was like, right, so this random Polish geezer he's scored a few tap-ins basically for some random side, and it sounds all right. But today, I think what we've seen today is exactly why Stuart Webber brought him in, and I'm very, very impressed with him.
Yeah, I think you're right. It's another option, isn't it? When it feels like we've got a bit more depth this season. You bring Hugill on, that's different to what we had last season. You've got Pochetta, you've got some more technical players, you've got a box-to-box kind of player in Skip. It's really exciting. Please do, if you're watching on YouTube, hit like and subscribe. We're on the home straight to 20,000 subscribers. That's way more than Ipswich's average attendance and more than our average attendance at the moment in COVID times. And also, I'll give it one more plug. We have a Ko-fi page. I'll peek down there. Hey, everyone. It's a one-off donation service. It's in the link, top line of the description. If you do donate, as always, is expected, not expected, always appreciated. You can leave a question and we'll make sure to read it out. Chris, I wanted to mention Teemu Pukki. I've been really impressed with Teemu Pukki's first 2 games. He's got a goal, he's got an assist. I thought he just looked back to his best today.
I don't. Yeah, look, I think we almost saw it today, Jack. I still think he's getting his confidence back. I think that's important to state. As I said, I thought his exchanges with the midfield today, when he got them, were great. I did feel though, and this isn't just Pukki, I think at the general forward line, I felt that there was not enough movement today. You know, we weren't creating options. We weren't running behind the defenders at all. There was none of that. And so I still think that Teemu has got a little bit to go to get back to his what we know he's truly capable of. But he scores a header today. I don't know the last time he scored a header.
It was Stoke at the tail end of that championship. But I think because
well done for remembering that.
we weren't throwing, and you know, I'm surprised we're doing it. We weren't throwing crosses into the box. Now it feels like whenever we get the ball, it's being pumped into the box, which is kind of refreshing but strange.
Yeah. No, what I would say, Jack, is for that exact reason, that's why I was impressed with Teemu today, because again, feeding off scraps, the midfield today were non-existent. Like I'm not going to debate that with anyone. You know, they were non-existent today. And the fact that Teemu managed to feed off scraps and still, you know, create some opportunities to either bring the midfield into play or to try and pull off something himself. I was content, as Daniel Farke would say, with Teemu's performance today. But I still think we need to see that consistency. And this is a big shout. And I'm just being honest. And maybe I'm going to get shouted down in the comments for this. I still want to see Jordan Hugill have a chance at starting for Norwich City Football Club. He was brought in as competition, and I think given an opportunity to start, I think he could cause some damage. And look, and what I really want to see, Jack, is I want to see Jordan Hugill up front with Teemu Pukki. And, you know, maybe Teemu Pukki drops in behind a little bit. You know, I'm not saying they need to be so offensive on their own, but I personally think those two would work so well off each other. And, you know, I've spoken to a lot of QPR fans, a lot of Preston fans, you know, and Snoddy at West Ham as well. And he said he plays really well with someone to play off. And so I actually do sadly think that maybe we are actually not going to see him start because we don't play 2 up, do we? And Danny Parker loves Pukki, so. Yeah,
you say that, but, you know, we finished the game today with Hugill and Pukki and Ida on the pitch. Ida's position was almost playing off the wing at points. He wasn't really being deployed as a striker, which I found strange. And of course, last week we finished the game with 2 up top. So for me, yeah, I agree. I would like to see Hugill play. I don't think he's necessarily a starter. I think Pukki and Ida are both ahead of him at the moment, and of course that is subject to change. But for me, it's pleasing to see Farke slightly less stubborn. I know the substitutes were late today, but slightly less stubborn and an ability to change his tactical systems within a game, because I don't think we saw that last season. I know you're up against it against really solid Premier League teams, and you know the quality is of course not as good in the Championship, but early signs is good. And for me, the big positive today, and I think NCFC Numbers tweeted it out, the last time Norwich City came from behind in a game to pick up a point was our 2-2 draw with Sheffield Wednesday in that Championship winning campaign of 2018-2019, well over a year ago. That's massive today. Norwich were not at the races for large spells of today's game, and they've still come out of it with a point. And then points at the end of the season are crucial. Really, really crucial.
Points mean prizes, Jack.
Simple. And I'm well up for a few prizes, mate. Well up for it. Jeff Wyatt says it would be exciting to see Buendia feeding Poeta in behind the opposition's defence. Well, spot on, Jeff. What do you make of this Emi Buendia stuff, Chris? He didn't start today. Farke saying it's a knock. It could well be. The last I saw of Emi Buendia was being plastered over Norwich City's Twitter feed, doing overhead kicks down at Colney. So maybe it was one of them going astray. But for me, it feels slightly fishy.
Yeah, I think it smells a little bit. I think that, well, how do I say this? Look, I don't think Emmy is fishing for a move, right?
No.
But the interview that was done, whether it was, an interview that was approved or not, it doesn't matter. The interview still took place. Emmy still approved it, and so did his agent. But I do think it smells a bit because of that, Jack. I think that if that interview hadn't gone out, I think surely Emmy would have been at least on the bench today. If it was a minor knock, Jack, if it was if Emmy Buendia with a minor knock is still probably better than the majority of players on that pitch. Yeah, we've got.
Or is it just sorry to butt in? Is it he's picked up a minor knock and Norwich know that there's interest, so they don't want that knock to become worse?
I don't know. I just think it smells. I'm like you, Jack. I think it smells, and until proven otherwise, I'm going to think it's a bit fishy, to be honest. And maybe that's the fan in me. Maybe I'm not seeing the logic here, but for me, I think that it would be arguably the most successful sort of. What am I trying to say here? If we keep hold of Emmy Buendia, it will be unbelievable. Like, we are sitting on a £40 million player, I think, in my opinion, and at least 35-40. And if he doesn't get a move to another club this summer, it will be madness, like bonkers.
Yeah. Let us know in the comments where you think Emmy Buendia's future lies. Does it lie in Norfolk? I completely forgot that we do now have super chats enabled in the YouTube comment section. So thank you to Football Seconds for a £10 donation. Very kind. Cardiff, best team in the EFL. Well, Kiefer Moore was banging them in for them today, the Welsh maestro. So hello to all of our South Wales viewers. I know there's quite a lot of them.
I know you're from Wales, Jack, but I still completely disagree they're even allowed in the league system. So
let's not start that after a donation of £10.
No, sorry, mate.
Robin Frost, well, this is a cynical view. And of course, Chris was saying a few weeks ago, there are no excuses in this division. We drew at home, luckily, against Preston. Whatever way you look at it, it's simply not good enough. Chris, are you still standing by your no excuses policy?
Yeah, of course, Jack. But don't forget, I'm saying there's no excuses that we shouldn't be promoted this season. That's what I'm saying, right? And I think it was Michael Bailey that mentioned that we can only lose 10 games this season or something like that. I think that was his analogy. I think that's what he mentioned. And yeah,
promotion that is, yeah.
Yeah, and I agree, and I massively agree with that comment, actually. Massively agree with it. It wasn't good enough today. We shouldn't skate over it. But I don't think Daniel Farke and his management team would skate over it either, Jack. I think that they would. I do think that they will be very, very, very upset with the performance today, particularly defensively.
Yeah, no, definitely. Well, I'm not sure if Football Seconds has won a bet or something, but it's another £5. And he said, Chris, come on, mate, be nice. Look, I'm half Welsh. I have to be nice to the Welsh.
To who? I've just got to be I've got to be nice to Cardiff and Swansea, despite the fact that this is a Norwich City fan channel.
Well, as long as they let us beat them this season, definitely.
Yeah, true. Yeah, I'll take a £5 for that as well.
We've touched on this already, but PNE predictable. I assume a Preston fan says VAR wouldn't have overturned Preston's penalty, and you know what, mate? I completely agree. There was contact within the box. And that's it. Oh, my goodness. We've got a whole array of EFL fans in. Bunnyman donates £2 and says Luton are the best team, actually. And again, you're struggling here because I kind of have a soft spot for Luton as well. They're not the best team, but they have won 2 games out of 2 this season and beat us, Chris.
You've got a soft spot for Luton?
Yeah, sort of.
Oh, London's gone to your head, mate, big time. I've got a comment, Jack, on YouTube from DJ.
Oh, can you put comments on as well?
Yeah, mate, I've overridden.
Why are you letting me do all the hard work? I'm sitting back. You take it away, my friend.
Great comment from DJam on YouTube. He says, evening, lads. Sorry I'm late. Well, you should be sorry, that's for sure, because you've missed the Max Aarons debate. What's the general reaction been tonight? Twitter seemed to go mad, mental if you ask me. 4 points from 2 games when team is still settling is good in my eyes. Jack, what's your initial reaction off the back of that comment?
Yeah, well, I'm happy that you can put comments on it. It's made my life a whole lot easier because usually I'm like listening to you and reading and then I'm like, oh, I can't put that on screen. So I'm happy about that. DJam, welcome along to the stream, my friend. I think if you would have offered me 4 points at the start of the season after 2 games, I would have taken it. Disappointed with today's performance. Not overly impressed with the performance against Huddersfield, but we got the win. The thing that's pleased me the most in the opening 2 games is the character to just grind results out. Today, I don't think we deserved a point. I know we had a real, cutting edge chance that we should have scored, and a good save at the end from Declan Rudd. But I thought Preston, for large spells of the game, were the better side, and I think. I don't think that can be debated. It's a really fascinating couple of games coming up. Bournemouth, who, I'm still undecided on what they'll be like this season, and a Derby team who just don't look at the races at all and have sold a few decent players. So I think there are lessons to be learned, and I think really valuable lessons. As Chris has mentioned multiple times, and Norwich fans, I think the team will look different come mid-October when the transfer window shuts. I'm certainly not upset about the start to the season. I'm relatively pleased. I think Farke's made a decent start. I think we got that win, which was necessary. I think the new signings have made an impact. It's good that we've still got a lot of the big guns here, but there is definite room for improvement. That's undoubted.
Jack, the key thing you said there was character. Something that you literally couldn't have injected into the Norwich City players' arms last season. We were woeful. It was non-existent. And so I think having that character to grind out those results, the win against Huddersfield, the draw today, because considering how poor we were today, still getting a result is a positive. Teams that go on to win this league, when they play poor, they still get results. And you could argue today that you can look at the stats, and a lot of people are already saying this, that actually, if you look at the stats, we probably might have even, deserved the draw today. But it just didn't feel good, because I do think I think the Norwich fans, D-Jam, have a fair expectation of what they want to see in this Norwich City team this season. Not just results, what they want to see. And I stand by it, Jack, that I do think, I said that we need to be winning our first 5 games. I stand by it. I do. Even coming up against Bournemouth, Derby, I stand by it. And so, yes, I'm disappointed today. And of course, I've personally not seen anything too crazy on Twitter. But look, I think that the thing that Norwich fans are probably really worried about, D-Jam, is they're really worried about seeing the same shit that they saw in the Premier League restart. They're really worried about seeing those horrendous defensive mistakes. They're really worried about us doing zonal marking off corners and conceding from corners. And it's that poison from last season is still within us. And so I think it's over to the lads to prove a point to us, to come out of the gates flying. And today, they didn't come out of the gates flying. Alex Neil's Preston absolutely bossed us. And so I'm not being too crazy, but let's be careful here, D-Jam, because I'm not going to sit back here and accept mediocrity this season. I'm not going to accept draws this season at home. I'm not. I think we're capable of beating every single team in this league at home, 100%, every single one, even Watford. I really do believe that. We're more than capable of doing that. So I agree. Right now, we've still got just maybe 2 more games to kind of get into it a little bit. But I'm not going to lay back, roll over and say, no worries, lads. It's a solid draw today because we were poor.
Yeah, no, agree. Jamie says, lads, I'm a Borough fan and we were by far the better side against Bournemouth today. So no pressure. Well, hopefully they don't turn up next week. Well said, Chris Reeve from Neil. Of course, a big thank you to all of our sponsors. Idro, new for the 2020-2021 season. Great to have Neil and the guys over at Idro on board. There'll be more information about them this season.
Do you know what I will say, just quickly on Idro, quick interlude on Idro. Anyone that suffers with migraines or anything like that, which I did during the Premier League restart, Jack, just watching that utter shower of shit, I felt my eyes. I was like, I've got really I feel tired all the time. I'm fed up with this. And I went to see Neil at Idro and he said to me, Chris, mate, I'll sort you out. And it's an incredible experience in there. And I would encourage anyone, search Idro Norwich now and look into it because it's incredible what they do there. It really is.
Yeah, no, definitely. I know for me, I'm spending 10, 12 hours a day on a screen. So you need your eyes at top draw. I'm just going to quickly say, Paul. I'm going to quickly put Paul Jackson says penalty Palace. Chris, there were vicious rumours that Luton are now my most local team. It's in fact Crystal Palace are now my most local team.
Lucky you. And of course, right to reply, DJam, not about accepting mediocrity, Chris. It's being realistic that this squad was on its knees after last season. Agreed. We purchased a brand new 11 and can't expect it to click straight away. DJam, totally agreed, mate. But all I'm saying is, let's just not have this attitude in another 3 or 4 games, because I feel that would actually be more damaging. But great reply, and I definitely agree with you, mate.
Yeah, I sort of agree. It's not a whole brand new 11 though. I mean, Krul was there last season, Max was there last. No, but the whole gelling thing, I get it. I do get it. But it's the same for every squad. Like the pre-season was shortened. That was the same for every team. Yeah, I don't know. There is room for improvement, but I am happy with the start of the season. Colin Rogers, yeah, a lot of this tonight. It says sort out the midfield big time. We'll be bossed a lot more. Yeah, I don't think the midfield were awful today, but I don't think. Well, Skip gave the penalty away, so he'll be disappointed with that. And as we mentioned at the top of the show, I don't think McLean put in his finest display. Maybe he's been on the old. What did he drink again?
2020.
2020.
And Jack, great comment on YouTube from Shaney_NCFC. Cracking name that, by the way. And brilliant backdrop on your picture. And what I don't get is, why can't we leave a player on the halfway line from a corner? It takes Preston players away from the box. Now, Shaney, brilliant point. Something that Darren Eadie brought up in his co-coms today with Chris Gorham. Jack, what's your take on that?
Yeah, I don't know if we do it. Do we? I assume we don't. Shaney probably watched it a lot closer than me. Yeah, I agree. Stick Poeta on the halfway line, and he'll be up the other end before anyone's blinked.
Mate, stick PP in the Barclay standard. He'd still manage to beat the rest of them into their half. Without
you mentioned Darren Eadie on co-coms there, and I feel like, as always, we need to give balance. We were slagging off iFollow last week. I'm not sure if it was good for you, but it worked seamlessly for me today. So whatever they've done, I had Chris Gorham's dulcet tones. I had Poeta running down the wing. I was a happy man with the Norfolk sun blazing through the Great Yarmouth Conservatory.
I personally think this is a controversial shout. Look at this. You ready? Alex Alford says, looks like Jacob Murphy is out the door at Newcastle. Would you take him back?
Never go back, Chris. Never go. Although we've just seen Gareth Bale go back to Tottenham, haven't we? So they're happy to go back. But for me, no. It's a position in which we've got depth as well. We've got Poeta, we've got Hernandez, we've got so many attacking players. I don't think. You know what? This might even be more of a controversial shout. Murphy doesn't even get in the team for me at the moment.
No. Of course he doesn't. I totally agree.
No, I don't take him back. No.
Jack, this next comment, I'm going to show it on screen. You've got 3 seconds, and then you've got to give your answer straight away. Are you ready? VAR.
Yeah, VAR, 100%. At least Championship referees, like, it's a human decision. Like, I know VAR has got a human element, but it's the thing that VAR, for me, wasn't necessarily the decisions. It was the waiting. Oh, my God. And especially, it wasn't so bad on the telly because you could see what was going on. Chris, we're in the Barclay. We can't see the big screen because it doesn't rotate enough. We did not have a clue what was going on. The moment that Pukki scored against Tottenham last season to put us, it would have been 2-0 up, and it looked perfectly fine. It was perfectly fine. He's a millimetre offside, and they give it. We were stood there for minutes not having a clue whether it was a handball, a foul, an offside. VAR is a nonsense. It ruins the live experience. It's okay if you're sitting on the sofa and watching it because you know what's going on, and waiting a couple of minutes, you can go and make yourself a bovril during the wait. But when you're in the Barclay and it's freezing cold on a cold November night, and you've got some bloke probably earning too much money in Stockley Park deciding on your team's fortunes, it's a bit of a nonsense. So I'd take a Championship ref every day of the week, my friend.
Well, there we go. That's certainly a strong take on VAR from Reeve Jr. Jonathan Parker, friend of the channel. We seem to be loading the box with crosses so far this season, yet the player who might benefit most isn't getting much game time. Jonathan, I'm assuming you're talking about Mr. Hugill. I think I've seen you tweet about this before as well, and I would agree. I think that Xavi Quintilla whipping the ball in, the Norfolk Roberto Carlos whipping the ball in it smells so good for Jordan Hugill to stick his noggin on the end of it. I mean, it really does. But Jack, what's your take on that?
Yeah, I agree. I mentioned it a little while back. I'm very much enjoying you taking lead here, mate. I can sit back and just occasionally chip in with nonsense. Yeah, I agree. It was good to see Pukki get that headed goal. I don't think it necessarily plays to Puki's strengths. I think he enjoys the ball being on the floor, in and around the box. That's where the majority of his goals come from. It possibly suits Adam Eder. I mean, we haven't seen too much of Adam Eder in a Norwich shirt. I think I remember back to last season. Was it against Watford where he had a real sitter with his header and missed it? He had a headed chance today and missed it. I mean, 2 snap chances, so not a fair sample size. But yeah, I agree. If we're going to continue playing that style of football, which it looks like we will be, and that's fine. That's a good championship method. I agree. Hugill would probably be best suited to that. But we saw Hugill play against Luton. I wasn't overly impressed. It was a second string side that day, so again, hard to judge. But for me, I've said it before, I'll say it again. Until Pukki needs a rest, he's the man that starts for me. I think at this level, he's a cut above.
What about this, Jack? On YouTube from, of course, the finest cheese salesman in the world, Cheesy Geezer himself. He says, we need to sort the defence out. If we carry on letting in goals like we have the last 2 seasons, there's no point getting promoted again. Wow. Harsh, cutting words from Norfolk's best cheeseman. Jack, thoughts?
Yeah, I think it's a system thing. Again, we've kind of mentioned it. We've got a player in Max Aarons who's been linked with the biggest club in the world, a player in Ben Godfrey who's been linked with all sorts of teams, Jamal, who I know has now gone for big money, now got Javi Quinterin, who we all agree. He reminds me of Ivo Pinto, by the way, Javi Quinterin. Very good going forwards, maybe a bit out of shape going at the back, and a player in Grant Hanley who's got, Premier League experience and stuff. So we've got the players there. We've got a very good on paper championship defence. I don't know. We're pushing our wing backs really high up the pitch, which is good because it means that we're creating chances and putting crosses in the box. That's great, but it's still organisationally. I think we look all over the shop. As you mentioned earlier, Chris, that second goal from Preston, one pass, and you suddenly got, I think it was Scott Sinclair through on goal. That shouldn't be happening. Acres of space, one-on-one with a keeper. Zimmerman's like looking, trying to figure out what's going on. It wasn't good enough. That does need to be looked at. But on the flip side, if you're playing a style of football in which Farke wants to play, there are going to be gaps left at the back because you can't be brilliant going forwards and brilliant at the back. There's going to be, situations that where gaps open up. So no, I think as I've said, there needs to be improvement. And Rob, mind your business. I'm only putting up because he agrees with me. 100%, Jack. Pukki's class. He does so much for the team, works hard, assists, goals, bags 20 goals easily for us this year. Yeah, wow. I agree. I think he does get 20 goals. And I agree. I think, his pressing, the assist last week, I've watched so many times. Like, it really just settles me before bedtime. I've watched it on loop. I watch it and I go, oh, that dummy. The dummy just was so good. It was so simple, but it was so good. It was an awareness. It was intelligence at this level. I'll say it again. He's a cut above the rest. I think he's one of the best championship strikers.
Yeah, no, I agree, Jack. 100%. Yeah.
Should we start to get the last few comments in? I can hear a wonderful waft of garlic bread coming from downstairs. I think my mum's got a nice bolognese on the go. So it's making me drool with excitement.
Jack, are you out of the doghouse yet from last week, please?
Yeah. So, look, there were lots of questions regarding it. I of course, had to send Jen out of the living room. I think she was watching Married at First Sight. And the way I got Jen back on side, I recommend it to any boyfriends or husbands in the comment section tonight. You sit your girlfriend down and you say, Jen, I'm really sorry for what happened, but no worries. I've got a brilliant evening lined up. It's Quest on at 9 o'clock. We'll be watching the highlights back. Come on. You know, you pop open a beer, you stick West on, Colin Murray's dulcet tones, maybe a Dean Ashton as a pundit, and Ali Maxwell. And Jen was perfect. Colin Murray on the telly, she's back on side in very good form.
Speaking of on the telly, Jack, do you know what I loved to hear through the telly today? Hooked the laptop up with the telly, of course, seamless link there, is the 1,000 Norwich fans. Fair play to them, because I could hear them today, and it's great. It's really good. They were all obviously clearly told they had to sing the equivalent of 270 people each, and I felt that they did a job. I felt that they did a job today, and I was very impressed with their performance, Jack.
Definitely. Good to see my local team, Palace, 3-1 up against Man United. Well done to South London's finest.
Who cares? Who cares?
Anyway, mate, we always do this. Let's have a look at the week ahead.
Yeah.
It's Bournemouth up next. We've got a week and a bit off. What do you change going into Bournemouth to hope to pick up 3 points?
Cool. That's really well. First of all, you know, I think Emmy needs to be in the mix. For me, I'm giving Todd a game out now. I think I'd like to see Emmy start over Todd. I think Pukki deserves to start still, despite the fact that there is something inside of me that is desperate to see Jordan start. I would love to see Adam Eder up top, of course, but with Timu, but I don't think that will happen. I would like to see PP start as well. I felt that, you know, after scoring today, he certainly deserves an opportunity to try and cement his place in the team. Potentially, by the way, Onel sits out and you put PP on his side, dare I say. You know, but depending on you know the potential team that we could come up against Bournemouth with. But look, you know, and I've said this, I'm trying to not get ahead of myself, but we really should be beating Bournemouth. Like, you know, we should have beaten them in the Premier League and we didn't.
We did at home.
No, I mean, yeah, I know, but I mean, away from home, Jack, when we wined and dined and we managed to scrape a draw against them. I think Tom Schreiber hit the crossbar that day or something like that, and you know that felt like one of those ones where that was like the league getting away from us at that time. And yeah, I'm really excited for Bournemouth. I think that we're going to see a very, very, very good Norwich City display. I'm very hopeful of that. I'm talking into existence. I think that we will see that. I think if Daniel Farke can iron out the mistakes that we've seen today, but the key area is midfield, Jack. Like, I know that we've both slagged off the defence today, particularly the two centre backs. But I think that if the defence are actually protected a little bit, then I think they'll do much better. There's only so much that Skip can do, right? And I still think Skip is the kind of player that can be all over the midfield, right? I don't necessarily think he's the type of player that's just going to sit there and stay cemented and just block balls and like make tackles. I don't think that's Skip's game necessarily. Yes, he can do it, but it's not his out and out thing, if that makes sense. Arguably, that's what Tete does solely. I don't think McLean does that. I think McLean likes to go forwards as well. McLean likes to kind of try and do interlinks of play and stuff. And actually what we've seen in the last game, the Huddersfield game, is actually he wants to get forwards with Timu as well. So I just think whatever we do, I think a key thing is we have to protect the defence, but as well, the big call, and I can't decide who, and I really want to get people to comment this now. Who do we? I think it's at the point where we have to change the defence in terms of the centre backs. So I want to hear from people, and you, Jack, now. Like, tell me, who are the two centre backs? Like, who are they going to be against Bournemouth?
Well, for me, it's Gibson and
Godfrey.
Yeah. It's the two Bens. I think we give Gibson a chance. With that said, I think we'll wrap things up. I think it's a nice bit of positivity to go out with. Nev Townsend, 2 games, 4 points. Happy with that. Onwards and upwards. Nev, I hope you're well, my friend. And of course, a mention for this man, the Irish Messi, a goal for Cambridge United today in their 5-0 win over Morecambe. An absolute legend. Great to see him still ripping it up in the EFL. Thank you so much for watching, everyone. If you are new to the YouTube channel or old but just haven't subscribed, please do. We need to get to 20,000 subscribers. We need to do it, and we are so close. So thank you for that. Chris, one last word from you.
Well, I was just going to say quickly, for the people that are wondering where we're at, we're now starting to get really close to some really exciting podcasts. Lots of talks going on at the moment. It sounds like I'm making a transfer. Lots of really positive talks at the moment. And I'm really hoping to bring you some more really interesting Norwich City stories over the coming weeks. So make sure that you stay tuned to Talk Norwich City. And a massive thank you, as always, to anyone that's donated on the Ko-fi channel. But most importantly, thanks for all of your engagement. Thank you for commenting on these live streams. And as we always say at the moment, particularly during these times, it's great to get all of the Norwich fans debating and together no matter what. And it's great to be debating and having a good laugh. So thanks to everyone for watching tonight.
Yeah, no, definitely. It feels as if, you know, here at Talk Norwich City, we've built a really lovely community. I rarely see kind of, you know, people going at each other in the comments, which is great. You know, that we haven't got the time or energy for that. So that's really nice. Thanks for joining us on this Saturday evening. Whatever you're up to tonight, I don't know if you've got an Indian or a fish and chip supper ahead, enjoy it. Wash it down with a nice beverage, and we'll catch you again next week for some more wonderful content. Of course, Chris's opposition preview series will be continuing if we manage to find the Bournemouth fan. There's not many of them, but
I doubt it.
we'll give it a whirl. If not, I'll just, you know, act like a Bournemouth fan for the week and predict a 4-0 Norwich win. Thanks for watching. Hit subscribe. The Ko-fi link is in the description if you haven't already donated and want to, and we will see you again very soon. Bye-bye.